disruptions, and other major trends in supply chain. Well, joining us today to speak about that, Ram Gopalakrishnan, CEO of Bricz. Ram, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Ram, I think it's fair to say that you have a front row seat when it comes to seeing what's going on in supply chain. So I guess you're the guy to go to say, what are the trends, other than the disruption that we've seen over the last several years, the trends that you are seeing in supply chain these days? Walk us through that. What do you say?
Yeah, first of all, I think the last 2 years has been quite something for supply chain. And when a lot of this started, we started seeing a lot of our retail customers not being able to keep the stores open, right? How do they sell? I mean, they have a pretty strong e-commerce operation, and a lot of them wanted to expand on that operation and get products in the hands of the consumer. So they leveraged a lot of their stores as mini fulfillment centers in order to get the products in the hands of the consumer. And throughout that process, we have seen a lot of big trends coming out of the pandemic. The first thing is something I call the shift in commerce. What used to be 95% store sales, 5% e-commerce is now 20, 30, 40%. But a lot of the retailers are still using existing logistics-centric distribution networks that work great for replenishments and trying to force fit e-commerce into that. And as part of the process, they're also trying to figure out how they can establish consumer-centric networks. So we are seeing a lot of those trends of big focus on consumer centricity, micro fulfillment, urban fulfillment, market fulfillment. Those are all big things that we see. And then the last thing coming out of that is, with the labor shortages, we're seeing big trends in robotics and automation as well.
Sure, major trends in robotics, issues concerning sufficient labor force and a trained labor force. But threshold issue is you can't sell stuff that you don't have. If you're having trouble getting stuff out of wherever it's manufactured, wherever it's sourced, if you can't get it out of Long Beach or can't get it out of LA or wherever, if it's something that can't be trucked to you, that in itself becomes an issue. You may have the greatest fulfillment operation around, but you got to have the stuff. Right.
That's 100% correct. I mean, which is part of the reason, we are also seeing a big trend in, source to consumption visibility, right? A lot of our customers are starting to invest in control tower type solutions that'll provide deep, meaningful visibility so that they can start taking actions at the right time. And, if you are not going to get product through one port location at the right time, then how do you redistribute some of that and still achieve what you want, within the means of what you can do? So we see a lot of that investment to, see that visibility of sourced consumption.
Well, let's drill down into that, because that really is a very important thing. How retailers are approaching their technology investment in distribution. So walk us through that. What are they doing by necessity, of course? Walk us through that. What do you say?
Yeah, for a long time, I think, as we look at the evolution, right? Back in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of ERPs. Then, in the early 2000s, it was a lot of investment in WMS. And then subsequently was order management. But now the focus is on holistic, supply chain platforms that can enable fast and easy decision making, right? And a lot of them are investing in technology on the cloud, so it's easier to stand up and stand down and maintain. So we are seeing a lot of trends in migrating to more sophisticated warehouse management solutions that are on the cloud, and a lot of the distributed order management solutions that help with order orchestration, so they can stay closer to the consumer and provide the right service levels. It's early days for a lot of retailers investing in technology that will enable micro fulfillment or urban fulfillment. And part of that thought process is how do we establish crawl, walk, run roadmap of being able to operate these smaller 50,000 square foot distribution centers, the type of solutions you will need to run those centers, and then the robotics and automation that will make it all easy. So those are all big trends, in technology investments. But as a starting point, at the very least, a lot of them are trying to figure out how they can do more with less with their existing technology investments as well.
Ram, I wanted to, in a moment, get to Bricz itself. I want to talk about the company for just a moment. But before we do that, I want to ask you about this. We've mentioned some of the difficulties supply chain has faced over the last couple of years. And obviously the pandemic has been one, the bottlenecks and difficulties with distribution. We've had now the geopolitical situation involving Ukraine and Russia, clearly impacting supply chains of all kinds all over the place. Climate change is a bit of an issue, and on and on and on. And I guess the question to you is, do you see any end in sight, or is this just a new normal that we're going forward having to deal with these kinds of disruptions? What's your view?
I mean, one thing, I have heard, not just in supply chain, but in many, many places, referenced is change is the only constant, right? And that is how I look at a lot of this. For a long time, people operated broken supply chains and were still able to get by. But now with the pandemic, it has brought the focus back to supply chain. Matter of fact, a lot of my friends that had no clue on what I do now know exactly what I do. So definitely, yeah, that's how I see it. And I think over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be continued investments in supply chain. And we are going to become modern. Supply chain people are, going to help digitize and become modern.
It's funny you should say that. Until the pandemic came along, supply chain was the most important job that most people had never heard of.
Yep.
Right? Okay, well, let's talk about Bricz, because if there are any viewers who are seeing this who do not know about your company, tell us, what does it do and what do you do to enhance the operations of your customers? What do you say?
Got it. So first, go back to how it all started. Personally, I used to work for a large, warehouse management supply chain solutions provider. I used to work for a big retailer. Using a lot of that, I launched Bricz in January of 2014. And when I did, as a one-man company, my first customer was Home Depot. That was an amazing launch pad, and we have done exceptional work for them for the last 8 years. And when people ask about Bricz, what does that represent? Like, we tell people that we want to be the foundation of their supply chain, and that's what we stay true to. And through the course of time, we moved from distribution technology enablement to full life cycle supply chain solutions. Essentially everything from network optimization to data analytics to software selection, implementation optimization for WMS, TMS, order management system, labor. And that's how we evolved to where we are today. We're about 80 people across 3 regions, US, UK, and India. And about a couple of years back, because we have a front row seat to a lot of retail operations, we started a journey to create our own technology. We call that the fulfillment and operation planning technology. It's basically continuous network optimization and predictive product placement. And when a customer comes to us saying, hey, I have 5 DCs or 7 DCs that do exceptionally well on replenishment, but I want, 7 DCs and 14, forward fulfillment, micro fulfillment centers, 20 super fulfillment stores, right? We help them in that journey. Using our technology to predictively place inventory, inbound inventory, and also to design those smaller 50,000 square foot distribution centers and enable robotics and automation. So we become like the central partner in that journey, transformational journey, to go from a logistics-centric network to a consumer-centric network. So pretty thankful for this opportunity and excited about where we are headed.
Well, Ram, that's a compelling story. Sorry you had to start with such a small client like Home Depot. Wish you all the best going forward. And thank you for finding the time to speak with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks.
It's Ram Gopalakrishnan with Bricz, speaking with us today about disruptions, about major trends going on in supply chain. Thanks for watching.